Hey everyone, welcome to the show. So Tucker Carlson continues to mislead and lie to his viewers, and they're none the wiser because they've never seen anything else. So they have nothing to compare it to. It's like a virgin. Anyway, that's why I call him Sucker Carlson. As you guys all know, Carlson was granted exclusive access to all of the January 6th footage from the Capitol. So last night was his big reveal. He was going to share smoking gun evidence to prove that there was no insurrection, there was no violent attempt to overthrow the government. But this is the guy who was literally just caught lying to his audience while simultaneously admitting behind the scenes that Trump's election fraud claims were complete and utter BS. So we all knew that he couldn't be trusted, and that he'd cherry pick and make shit up. And we were right. Here's what Sucker told his audience and showed them last night in regard to the QAnon shaman, Jacob Chansley.
To this day, there is dispute over how Chansley got into the Capitol building. But according to our review of the internal surveillance video, it is very clear what happened once he got inside. Virtually every moment of his time inside the Capitol was caught on tape. The tapes show that Capitol Police never stopped Jacob Chansley. They helped him. They acted as his tour guides. Here's video of Chansley in the Senate chamber. Capitol Police officers take him to multiple entrances and even try to open locked doors for him. We counted at least 9 officers who were within touching distance of unarmed Jacob Chansley. Not one of them even tried to slow him down. Chansley understood that Capitol Police were his allies. Video shows him giving thanks for them in a prayer on the floor of the Senate. If he was in fact committing such a grave crime, why didn't the officers who were standing right next to him place him under arrest?
So where do I even start with this? I mean, there's so much wrong with what he said and what he showed that didn't jive with what he said. Did you guys notice that Tucker said there's some question as to how Chansley entered the building? Really? Yeah, well, he showed him entering the building in the clip he played. What do you mean there's a question? He showed Trump supporters kicking open the doors and then Chansley walking in those same broken doors. Take a look again at this segment.
A few at the front of the herd broke windows. Someone opened the doors and many hundreds of others just walked in.
And Sucker told his audience that Chansley was unarmed. Oh, really? What's this? What's this in this photo in Chansley's hand that you guys are seeing on your screen right now? For those who aren't watching, who are just listening to the podcast, it looks like a spear at the end of his flagpole. If someone broke into Sucker's house with that spear, you think the police might be called? You think they might consider that a weapon and say that, Sucker's life was in danger? He also led his audience to believe that Chansley walked in and then was immediately just escorted throughout the building. White glove treatment. What he left out is the fact that Chansley was among the group of Trump's mob that followed Eugene Goodman, Officer Eugene Goodman, up the stairs, 2 flights of stairs. And this is after and while during the time that Officer Goodman was telling them that they needed to leave the building. So to say that Chansley didn't realize that he wasn't welcome in the Capitol is a complete joke and fabrication. He also didn't mention that Officer Goodman led Chansley and the others to a basic trap where there were other officers waiting. Chansley was again told by all of those officers, you need to leave. Here's a photo of that confrontation and that standoff, which, according to witness testimony in several trials, it lasted about 20 to 30 minutes. So officers were greatly outnumbered, and they knew for a fact that some people had weapons in that group, right? I mean, Chansley had the spear. Kevin Seafried, he's the guy who had the Confederate flag. He used that as a weapon. He was using that to jab at Officer Goodman to keep him away. Another man had to be told to put a knife back in his pocket. And then other men in this group have admitted to carrying weapons, including this man that you see on your screen right now, Doug Jensen. Jensen, you guys might recall, He was just convicted on all counts. He was sentenced to prison for 5 years. And 2 of his convictions included entering the Capitol and disorderly conduct with a deadly or dangerous weapon because he was carrying a knife. So those officers, I mean, besides being outnumbered, they had no idea what they were up against. And I mean, you look at Chansley and you just know, I mean, the guy's, it's the middle of winter and he's shirtless, wearing horns on his head and paint on his face. Yeah, obviously unstable. Who knows what he's capable of? He also had a backpack on. Who knows what was in that backpack? And based on their testimony in these trials for Jensen and others, it's very clear they were trying to buy some time. They were trying to ensure that lawmakers were able to be evacuated, that they had enough time to get out, and they were trying to de-escalate the situation. They didn't want to use lethal force, and they knew they didn't have the manpower to arrest everyone. So, you know, yeah, are some of these visuals concerning of them just walking by cops? Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, it makes you wonder how many of them are sympathizers, how many of them love Trump too, right? Because he pretended at least to back the blue. But it also makes perfect sense that if Chansley wandered away from that group that we saw with Doug Jensen and the others, that, yeah, some of the cops would follow him. He's walking around with a spear. Of course they would follow him to make sure he doesn't harm anyone. But you don't want to set off the guy who's holding a spear who is clearly unstable. And once again, Sucker tried to paint Ashley Babbitt as an unarmed, helpless victim. This is a woman with a history of violence. She chased down and rammed her vehicle into the car of her husband's ex-wife. And this is after she, Ashley Babbitt, had an affair with him while he was married to this woman. And while she was married too. So she was cheating with a cheater. Then she attacked the wife who was cheated on and threatened to beat her up. And go watch some of her videos prior to January 6th. You will see how unhinged she was. But, you know, all of that aside, because obviously the police in that building didn't know any of that on January 6th. So set that aside. She was breaking the law on January 6th. She refused to comply with the officer's orders, and she had a large, violent, angry mob behind her. Had they not shot her, every single one of those people would have climbed through that window after her, or she would have unlocked the door from the inside and let them in, as so many others did. She was also, I believe, carrying a backpack. How could they know what she had in there? How did they know that she wasn't carrying a gun or a bomb? And it's really funny how Sucker didn't bother to show the footage of what preceded her shooting. Odd that he didn't show the video footage of January 6th defendant Zachary Alam screaming up in the faces of the officers within inches of their face, the officers guarding those doors, and then literally punching the windows next to them with his fist and shattering the glass. And how convenient for Sucker's narrative that he didn't show the video of Trump's terrorists chanting "break it down" as January 6th defendant Chad Jones then used a flagpole to smash the window that Babbitt ultimately climbed through. Yeah, didn't show any of that. How convenient. He showed the few moments where people were peacefully strolling through the building. I mean, Sucker's gonna sucker, right? Anyway, guys, I'll let you know when he comes up with these bombshell, with more of these bombshell videos. And I'm glad to debunk them because this is something I know quite a bit about. Anyway, thank you so much for watching and listening. Please like this video, share it with others to get the word out there, to get the truth out. Please become a monthly supporter if you can, or at least donate once if you possibly can. It really helps to keep the show going. Subscribe to the channel. It all helps. I really appreciate it. Take care, guys, and I'll talk with you soon.